girl child is anybody under the age of 18 years of age. And they are not expected to reproduce before that age for a variety of reasons. Primarily because you have not achieved your normal physical growth potential, and emotionally, psychologically, you are not an adult yet. Girl child is very important to the society. The girl child needs to have the same opportunities, if not more, than that of the boys. Women form over half of the population. Currently, they are marginalized, they are disadvantaged, they are not empowered, and we still have a peculiar situation in Nigeria where child marriage is still seem to be endorsed in some communities, regrettably, despite all the complications and adverse outcomes of pregnancy at that age group. Nigeria is a huge population of about 198 million people, but a youthful population. The median age is about 18 years or so. So it's a youthful population. So the girl child is very important for development. And most importantly, it's important to recognize that the girl child should have the same opportunities like the boys in terms of educational achievement and opportunities. In many parts of this nation, there are girls that are not going to school. They marry young and they start reproducing early. And of course, they run the risk of losing their lives prematurely. They also run the risk of not moving forward with educational pursuits. That in itself is a disadvantage to the nation. If you have both the girls and the boys educated, as many of us demand and wish can happen, then of course I think Nigeria will benefit from that huge mass of women, contributing to national development. Women can do what men can do. Twofold. One, if they marry too early, they're not matured physically, psychologically, or emotionally. And pregnancy wastage is higher too, for a variety of reasons. Any young girl, who marries early, is likely to be from a poor family. They're not likely to take advantage of even the health facilities provided by government because of their age, innocence, and ignorance, They run the risk of having pregnancy problems. For example, when they're pregnant, run the risk of having anemia, run the risk of hypertension, and run the risk of even pregnancy complications at labor, obstructed labor in particular, because the pelvis is not mature enough to deliver the size of the baby. This obstructed labor sometimes will lead to ruptured uterus, and the woman will die from it. Or even if they don't die from it, the post-delivery complications can be adverse. I think also it's important to say that the side effect of prolonged obstructed labor is not something to be desired. The tissue damage to the bladder, to the urethra, to the rectum, what we call vesicovaginal fistula or rectovaginal fistula, is not what we want to wish for anybody. And it could have been avoided by delaying the time of pregnancy. Secondly, if they're not even pregnant, problem of the girl child, because of their innocence, they engage in sexual activities prematurely because of peer pressure and then unplanned, unwanted pregnancy, ultimately ending in induced abortion, criminally procured, from somebody who's not a professional, and then you have complications of induced abortion that may even lead to death. 10% of maternal deaths is attributable to abortion. Complications from, say, infection or perforation of the reproductive tracts. But also a very important problem for the girl child, the adolescent girls, is the high incidence of sexually transmitted infections. HIV is common among the adolescents. Sexually transmitted infections like chlamydia, gonorrhea, herpes, HPV, they are common among the young ones as well because of unprotected sexual activities. You understand what I mean? Some of these problems can be prevented by educating the girl child, not only from school, but from home. The parents should play a major role in educating the girl child to know how to say no to any peer pressure for sexual activity. And if they are going to be sexually active, to take necessary precautions. For example, if you use barrier method of contraception, it will protect you to some degree, almost 100%, from contacting sexually transmitted infection. Also, using contraceptive methods will prevent them from having unexplained, unwanted pregnancy. You understand what I'm saying? So there are methods that should be in place and facilities in place to meet the needs of the adolescents. The reason for saying that is that adult facilities are not attractive to young adolescent girls or boys for counseling, for treatment, or for follow-up. So you need youth-friendly facilities, health facilities, with trained personnel who understands the problems of the adolescents, the challenges, and their peculiar needs. We don't have many of those at all, and this is why some of these young girls run into problems. Well, the Association for Reproductive and Family Health over time, had identified the needs of the youth as a priority, in particular the girl child. Based on our experience in Oyo State, that unplanned, unwanted pregnancy was common, and there are complications associated with it, as well as increase in sexually transmitted infection. So our flagship at the earlier part of our organization is Program for the Youth. We have been involved with a variety of programs. For example, the youth program that we started in Oyo State, which is now a national program with the Federal Ministry of Education. I think it's one project that should be enhanced and sustained by government. That is, when they are that age group, you give them all the necessary information they need, health information, not just on sexual and reproductive health, but on future career plan, and also how to prevent themselves. In addition to that, nutrition education is part of it. We also strengthen some of them, the University of Ibadan, on a project that we call MUDAFEM, multidimensional approach to fertility management, where young undergraduates are helping themselves to meet their own health needs in terms of prevention of unwanted pregnancy, in terms of understanding the biology of the female and the males, because some of the young girls don't know why they are menstruating, for example, you know, and they are sometimes shocked with the first experience of menstruation. So they have to know about the body changes and the reasons for those changes, you know, and the implications for future reproduction. I think these are some of the things we have done in the past, you know, and even with some physically challenged youths, we have had some programs for them, essentially improving health literacy among them, so they know the do's and don'ts and how to manage their sexual and reproductive health needs. You know. The best approach to it is for government at the highest level to recognize that women have a role to play in national development. And for women to participate actively in national development, education is a priority. Education of the girl child is a must, and I think, like I said before, must be free to at least the secondary school level. Without that consciousness at the highest political level, women will still remain disadvantaged. Number two, the women themselves must fight for their rights to education, equal pay, equal opportunities, like their male counterparts. The problem is not peculiar to Nigeria alone. It has happened in Europe and North America before. You may know the scenario in UK that happened about 100 years ago, 1888. Women working in a match industry, about 1,400 of them, protested for adverse working environments, less pay than men, and they fought the battle and won for equal opportunities and equal pay. So it's not peculiar to Nigeria. If men are not going to give them equal opportunities, the women must stand out clear and fight for their rights. And the evidence in recent decades has shown that women are equally competent in any sphere of life like men. There's nothing that men can do that women cannot do. But it's not everything that women can do that men can do. So the women groups who are privileged to be in high society must fight for the rights to protect the interests of the girl child, especially those living in disadvantaged communities. We must fight for equal opportunities and compulsory education and free education to the girl child. We are beginning to see considerable improvement, especially in the traditionally conservative states of the country. I was in some northern states some months ago, and I was very impressed to see, girls coming out of school, with pride and everything, We've made progress, but we need to do more. And for me in particular, there has to be a strong policy at the highest political level, and women must fight for it, to ban child marriage. We should not condone child marriage because you are denying that girl child the opportunity to grow and even to contribute positively to national development. That policy must be in place. In celebrating with the rest of the world that will recognize that the girl child is disadvantaged in this environment, and that as a people, we need to improve the opportunities for the girl child. We need to educate the girl child. We need to ensure that the girl child has the same opportunities like their male counterparts. And whatever their peculiar needs are, government should address it appropriately.
I think the theme for this year is a skilled girl force. And I think it's crystal clear that you educate a woman, you build a nation. And therefore, it becomes very important for us as a nation to know the importance of really investing in the young girls. I know that if you consider these sustainable development goals, for example, the goal 5 states it that it is very, very germane to ensure that we should prevent gender discrimination and empower women. And when you look at from this point of view, you will see that the future of our nation in the next 10 years, because the sustainable goal will end by 2030, the benchmark that we have has really emphasized that if a girl is not educated, if our girls are not protected, then we are going to have a big problem in our hands. We know the level of sexual violence in Nigeria, and that is a major concern for us. Different statistics continue to show that 1 out of 3 girls will be sexually abused if they are not well informed and well educated. So the need to empower young girls with the right skills is very, very important to achieving a skillful force in girls that we are looking at. And you begin to look at, why would I need to invest so much in the girls? We know that a girl will develop into being a woman sometime soon, especially when you are looking at the teenage girls. And when you also consider that a woman is responsible for ensuring it, is responsible for building a family. I know the men have their roles, but when you consider the fact that if you are able to empower a woman, you are going to empower the smallest unit of a nation, and then it will be a cascade effect to having the smallest unit of a nation building into a good society and also ensuring national development. So it's very, very important for us to invest extensively in the young girls. And what type of skills do they require? We know that for those of us that are in the developmental program, we know developing life building skills for them is very, very important. And it's so diverse. We may want to highlight some of the skills, but the most important component of it is that we must consistently protect the girl child. What are the skills required? You need the skills of information. They need to be informed. They need to develop self-assertive skills, because when a girl is assertive, she can say no to whatever she does not want at any point in time. She can resist peer pressure. She can also ensure that when it gets to the level when she should say refusal, which takes her to refusal skills, then it becomes very important for her to apply that. And I tell you that a girl that is not educated will never have self-confidence. They may have some traditional, boldness, but the required information for them to make decisions that will affect their future it won't just be there. And it's just like a girl without education is like a bird without wings to fly. You will always be subjected at every point in time. And so looking at skills that will be built as a result of education, negotiation skills, life survival skills, vocational skills, and because some girls would consequently take decision on either it is too late for me to go to school, because some of them that have dropped out of school when they were about 10, 12, some of them will end up in child marriage. But the hope is not lost, even if they have been exposed to that. I know Nigeria, in most parts of Nigeria now, a lot of effort is being taken to ensure that even those young girls that are used as domestic support for us at home are taken back to the schools. And I know that Federal Ministry of Women Affairs and Social Development they have positive policies that is being used to improve the girl child. I think consequently, the importance of education, the importance of information, the importance of opportunities, and ensuring that discrimination is reduced to the barest minimum. I know this has lingered over the years. Men, girls are at the center of sustainable development goals. And when you consider the fact that when there are sexual assaults, when consequently a girl becomes pregnant, it is the girl that will carry the burden. The boy will go to school or disappear or no civil rights place to help her to be able to fight the cause of getting the support required for that pregnancy. So it is very, very important that it has to really be a whole ball of change. And I think with this theme, we are likely to be able to have a skillful force developed in children. I also know that social media in a way is helping the young girls to also build their confidence back. I'm sure over the period of years you would have known that even abuse of women in the household is never taken for granted any longer. Unlike in the past, when you are assaulted as a woman, you cannot report about it. I'm sure you will say some women are also doing that to their husbands. I think it's when a society has gotten to the stage when the woman has become so violent, that is why you start to see some pockets of reactions coming into women. And I want to note that as an organization, our organization has invested a great deal in ensuring that we focus on adolescents generally. We do not bring about bias. We give information to both the girls and the boys equally. But most importantly, we allow our girls, the girls that come into we have youth-friendly clinics, we have youth-friendly facilities. We allow girls to have the opportunity of having that freedom of bringing any issue of sexual abuse, of receiving information that is required. And I think one of the major barriers to girls is that consequently they drop out of school when they are pregnant. What should we do? We need to do a lot more to ensure that such incidences should be reduced to the barest minimum. And that is why when you're talking about life planning education, you are not focusing it to all the skills alone. What if you get into troubles? What should you do? Or what if you don't have any, for example, some girls are poor in the rural communities. They want support from the men. The men will have sex with them. If they have to take such decisions, they need to have adequate information about how to prevent unwanted pregnancies. Gone are the days when we think young girls should not be informed about family planning options. Even in Christian homes, if you are very ignorant to the extent that you feel because you are telling your daughter, say no. I have had to counsel a lot of young girls who are from very reputable homes, Christian homes, who made mistakes and who get pregnant. And therefore, it is very, very important that the issue of what should I do if I don't want to get pregnant and I'm exposed to sexual relationship, what do you do? And that is why even within the social media, you see a lot of information. The young girls, if you fail to tell them, they go to social media, they won't get comprehensive information and they won't get good counseling. And so it becomes very important that an holistic approach should be used. I know that some scenarios will make a girl to become unskilled. Let us look at the Northeast, for example. You look at a lot of people in the IDPs camps. They are there, the food is never sufficient for them. What do they get to do? They've got to find solution to themselves. And therefore, such group of girls become so unskilled. They become so disempowered. They become so powerless. They have no confidence of their own. And then what will be the recourse on the society? We are already saying them. They give birth to children who don't have fathers. They give birth to children who are on the streets. And that will just bring a society with no civil society in the first instance. You're looking at it from the micro level to the macro level. If you look at it from the homes, a woman that is not empowered, or a family that is poor, and the children will have to go for survival. So much so, to the extent that some parents will tell their children, you go out and find a survivor for yourself, the survival that you require. And therefore, we look at a society where there are many children that are being given birth to and that have no recourse to any support, either from the government, either from the families they come from. They go into the streets and then create civil unrest. And you see a lot of period, even in this period when we are planning for election as a country, you would have seen that those that are able to be coerced into these situations that bring unpleasant situation to the country are the children who don't have support. But now I'm just looking at it from the ripple effect that a young girl that is not skillful will become pregnant, will be exposed to infections, will be exposed to diseases. One would have expected that with the level of growth in Nigeria, so many of these issues will be reduced to the barest minimum. Everybody should be so educated. Girls should be in school. The issue of early marriage should be discouraged. And if you are looking at the quantum of girls that are becoming mothers, and we even got to know that as early as 12 years, children are getting pregnant now. It does not present a society or a country that is going to be progressive in any way. All our health indices will continue to be static as we've always seen it. Although a lot of effort is being made now, especially with good policies. For example, we have a very good Minister of Health who is also looking into different strategies that can improve the health indices and the education. Similarly, I know that the Federal Ministry of Women Affairs are also looking at improving education within the girls. So I think by and large, Nigeria still needs to do a lot and invest much more in the right places to make girls to become skillful force that is required as a nation.